Hi everyone, hope you people are really doing well. And in the last session, we have talked a lot about the navigation system of Blender, and today we will take a look on the user interface of Blender and how to get familiar with the tools of Blender. So, without wasting time, first of all, we will take a look on this a very handy gizmo at the very bottom of your timeline and viewport. This is actually called the information bar, and it will always tell what each click of yours can do in context to the current position of your cursor. Suppose that if I press the middle mouse button as it is indicating me right now, so I can rotate my view like this. So it will always indicate you what your clicks can do. Similarly with the right mouse button, if I press my right mouse button, it will show the object context menu over here like this. So things really do really well with this, but as far as you press the hotkey, things will simultaneously changing the options. Suppose that if I press my shift button, so you say that it is saying that now you can pan your view instead of rotating your view. Releasing shift, it says that you can rotate your view. So by pressing the shift mouse button along with the middle mouse and dragging, now it is panning my view instead of rotating. So things changes when you press your hotkeys or shortcut buttons, and without shift it will rotate my view. So furthermore, if you practice more and more, you will really learn things far better and you will master yourself over here. So let's move to the another options. So as a quick reference, here are some of the translation tools such as move tool, rotate tool and scale tool. We will talk all about in a separate video. So for now, as you can see that Blender is already divided into several panels, and these panels are completely scalable. You can scale them by just clicking and dragging according to your niche. This is the drop down menu from where you can choose any kind of editor you need to work with: shader editor, UV editor, image editor, timeline, loop sheet, whatever you need. However, anytime if you feel that you have to create some more panels, so just come to the outline and right click over here and say vertical split or horizontal split. So as per the sake of the video, I am taking the horizontal split, but you can also take the vertical split. There is nothing difference between both of them. So horizontal split, and click the desired location you need. So you can see you have two panels in front of your eyes. This is extremely very helpful. If suppose I have to add any other editor into my second panel, so I will come to this drop down menu and say UV editor. So I can work on UV editor, and at the same time I can see what's going on my model, what are the effects are going with my model working with UV editor. However, if you anytime feel that you have to rejoin these two panels into one, or you want to go the previous position, so you just have to click on the outline as you did previously and say join areas and drag over the panel. So now you can see that your panel is at the previous position. Things are pretty well with Blender. If you want to maximize any of your panel, just press Ctrl and space bar. You will find that your window or panel has been maximized, and Control backspace to return back. Similarly with the other windows also, panels also, so just like the outliner, press Ctrl and spacebar to maximize, Ctrl spacebar to return back. Blender has also some default workspaces like modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture painting, shading, animation. We will take a look on all these different windows in a separate videos, how they can be efficient for us while working. So let's move to the other options. So guys, you have already seen our last video where we have talked about the navigation system of the viewport in Blender. So this is the entire scene called 3D scene, and we can do variety of things such as interaction with the objects presented in the viewport. So there are two very important tool sets in Blender, and they are always popped up right next to you when you press a hotkey. So as suppose if I press the P key on your keyboard, you will find certain tool set. This can also be achieved by pressing the arrow key besides. So this is the simple select option. This is the 3D cursor we will talk about in a moment. This is the move tool. This is rotate, scale. These all tool sets are being very useful while transforming your objects. Similarly, if you press N on your keyboard, you will find the object transformation data, where you can analyze your location of the object, rotation of the object, and the scale of your object. This is the properties of your tool which you are selecting at the moment. Suppose I have selected the move tool, so it will show me the options related to move tool. This is the view tab, and in this view tab, the very important part is the 3D cursor. So this red and white dotted circle is called 3D cursor. You can anytime change the position of this cursor by spawning over x-axis or y. This refers to the pivoting of the object, or the arrival of the new object is dependent on the current location of the 3D object. For example, if I choose a new object in a scene, it will appear on this place, right above the 3D cursor cylinder. So instead of coming on the origin, it has arrived on 3D cursor. You can anytime change the position of this cursor according to your desire by just clicking the shift and right click. I can take this cursor to anywhere I want. But in the meantime, if you find that you have to take this cursor to the initial position where XYZ is 0, or that's called the world position, so you can simply press Shift and S and click cursor to world origin. After clicking this, you can find that your 3D cursor is placed on the axis where X is 0, Y is 0 and Z is 0. So the next very important thing is the pie menus. What are pie menus? If each pie menu is associated with the hotkey, if suppose I have pressed the Z key on your keyboard, so you can see with a circle there are 4 different options are initiated with it. So there are now 2 options by pressing Z. If suppose I don't want to choose any option right now, so I will right click and stay out of it. But as I have to use an option from the drop down menu, from this menu, so I will click Z, and in this case I'll choose wireframe. So I'll take my cursor to wireframe and click. After clicking, you can simply see that there are a wireframe mode in my viewport. Everything is you can see inside of your models. This is what wireframe does. And pie menu has four options: material views, raw solid mode, and rendered mode. We will talk all this about in a while, but for the sake of this video, I'll talk only about solid mode because we are not covering the colors and textures, so there is no means coming to material preview or rendered preview. So, however, doing all these things, there is a very important tab in your bottom that is called the timeline. You can anytime play your animation by just clicking here, and you see a time slider is moving or running faster. You can anytime zoom in or zoom out by scrolling up and down, by shifting these keys by just dragging the middle mouse button to somewhere, or you can anyway change the start and the end of your animation. Here, let me clarify you one thing, that your scene refers to a 3D scene. So you can add numerous levels of 3D scene by clicking on this icon. You can add as many as numbers you need. And from this drop down menu, you can choose which scene file you have to work with. You can rename also. Suppose I did B. So this is a place where you can choose your new 3D scenes and work efficiently, and it is all the way different from the current scene you are working with. So as if I have to choose my last file which I am working with is the scene.01. So see, my objects are returned back because I have recalled the same scene, same 3D scene working previously. So these are the new scene files. If I ever need them, I'll call them accordingly. So, however, this is the main toolset of Blender, and this is known as the Properties tab. It is basically divided into two parts. The first part is from here to here is the tools specific, means it's totally dependent on the tools we have selected, and from this part to this part is the object specific, means it's totally dependent on the object we have selected. So let's start. This wrench icon you see is actually the active tool and workspace settings. So as if I have already selected to my move tool, so it will show settings according to my move tool. As if I have select to my selection box, so it will suddenly show settings related to my selection box. So this back facing camera icon is your render settings, where you can anytime manage which render engine you want to use at the moment, your sampling engines, your depth of field, and rest of other things. This tab is responsible for your final render of whatever you have developed in your 3D scene. So from here you can decide how much quality level you want to give to your final render. This printer looking icon is your output window, where you decide the resolution of the image you want to take, the aspect ratio, the start and end frames of animation you have to render. This is the place where you save your render files in the form of images or sequences. Now, here's the file format. I will choose PNG for the sake of this video. If somebody wants to take any other render format of images, so just click on this drop down menu and you will find several kinds of other formats also. But for the sake of this video, I will choose PNG. And you can also do some sort of compositing also from this tab. This is the view layer tab, which will help you in rendering the background and the character passes separately, or if somebody wants to render separate passes such as the reflection pass, refraction, or the normal passes or Z passes for depths. So he can render from here the ambient occlusion passes and rest of other things. You can also render things in separate view layers also by just clicking over here. You can add as many as layers you want. This icon is the scene property, where you take care of your camera, your background images, your physics, gravity, and active clip. So finally, this is the last option of this panel, and this is the world property, where you work on the color of your sky, the strength of your 3D image, the strength of your 3D scene, how much air is there in your scene. So all these things you decide on this tab. So these all above options are the tool oriented options, and below from here to here we will talk about the object oriented options. So this is the very first from the list. So as I have selected this one, so you can see the entire thing has been changed. As I select this one, everything becomes zeroed. Why? Because this cube is kept on the center, and as you click on this one, don't drag it, simply click on the object. So if you click, so it will tell you that you are so value away from the X from the center. So this will tell you the exact value, how far you are from the center. So it is a very basic option, and it will help you while working on Blender. So however, this tab looks like a wrench, and it is very helpful while modeling or developing any design. Add modifier. You can add as many as modifier you need on your model to give a desired shape. In this case, I'll select this one and I'll put subdivision surface on this cube. See, the shape changes. And one more bevel. You can anytime shuffle over the modifiers anytime by just clicking on this arrow. And if you need, you can cancel these modifier by just clicking on the cross at the very right. So you see you have returned back to the previous position. This is the particle system properties, where you can add particle system to your objects. So if suppose I want to add any particle system to this cube, I will simply click on this plus icon, and you will see that a particle system has been enabled. Just play. So these are the particle systems. There are several values to play, several other kinds of particles you can use in your models. We will talk in later lectures about all these things. Similarly, this is the emitter, this is the here tab. We will talk about all these things in the later lectures. Here is the physics properties. Let's Ctrl Z first. Yes. So here is the physics property icon. You can add several kinds of physics to your model, such as rigid body, fluid, soft body simulation, collision between two bodies, dynamic paint, cloth if you want to show your model as a curtain. So if you apply this cloth modifier or cloth physics to your model, it will definitely help to you. This fry pan looking icon is very similar to the modifier type, because modifier type is used to add modifiers to design several elements, and this object constraint property defines the relationship between two objects, such as if I want to make one child and a parent of it, so I'll use constraint for that. If suppose I want to limit distance, limit location, limit rotation, and all these, any kind of constraint to our body to define the relationship between the two bodies, this will really help us. We will talk all this about in our later lectures. So for the sake of this video, we will only talk about the intros of the tools. So this triangle looking thing is called object data property. So this is very important, because your cube is a cube is just because of this option. Here you can define your vertex group, your shape keys such as your blend keys, blend shape keys, UV maps, face maps, normals, and rest of other things. Now this tab is the materials property, where you can work on the color of your object, how shiny your surface is, how rough your surface is, and rest of other things you can work through. You can see options related to your object properties. This checkered looking thing is the texture property, and I must tell you that this is not the Blender's entity to work with, because you always import textures from outside. If suppose I want to place 4 images to this model, so I will bring those 4 images from outside or maybe from internet and just place it over through UV mapping or texturing. We will talk in detail about several lectures, how to paint a texture and rest of other things related to texture paint. We can paint textures through our brushes and brushes mask. So all these options are being covered. One very important thing is, if you click on this lamp or you say light, the materials tab has been replaced through this bulb. And what this bulb does, just click over here and you can see that you can change the color of your light, the intensity of your light, the specular of your light, and the radius of your light. If suppose, for instance, I want to change the type of light, you can simply select to sun, spot, or area light, whatever you need. Currently you are using the default one, which is point light. So as if I want to choose the spotlight, so I'll click on the spotlight. So you can see the effects has been changed. Let me show you once again. So previously we are on this point light. So point light effects like this, and we can improve the power of the point light. If suppose I have to change the type of light, sunlight, spotlight, and area light. We will talk about all these settings in the light lecture. So this is the light, and the very last thing for today is this camera. This is called camera, as we have already talked in previous videos. So just click here and you will see that the bulb has been replaced with this camera icon. So you can choose any kind of perspective you need from here, perspective, orthographic, panoramic, whatever you want to. From here you can adjust the focal length of your camera, the units from here, the XY shifts from here, and the start and the end frames from here. The depth of field and rest of other things like safe area and background images if you want to place any. For today, lots of things have been covered, so I hope you find this video helpful. Until we meet in the next video, take good care of yourself. This is your host Saud Siddiqui signing out.